Race day at the Nürburgring in GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup. We have a conventional, if you like, 3-hour race today, but qualifying is about to get underway, and we have 6 parts to it, 3 elements divided into 2 groups, so that drivers get some clear track space. And on a damp but drying circuit, we're ready to go. 19.2 degrees track temperature. Just like yesterday, quite blustery, chilly wind, but the fans are here to see the world's best GT drivers do battle. And the sun is even trying to break through as well. It's the full 5-kilometre Grand Prix circuit that we're using this weekend. And the car nearest to you there, the bright yellow Mercedes, number 48 of Lukas Stolz, Lucas Auer, Maro Engel, could be crowned as the Endurance Championship winning team this weekend. If they're in the top 4 come the end of the race this afternoon, the championship is theirs. And they haven't won a race yet in endurance, but the champions for the last 2 years did not win a race either, quirkily. The car remains empty for the moment, but it will be Lucas Auer to get on board first, we understand, as we get set for our first part of qualifying. 20 minutes then on the clock for the Group A drivers. Group A, Group B, split the 20 minutes, and then the second driver, similar process, and then the third driver with the combined average time being what will determine the grid. Pro, gold, silver and bronze as ever. 55 cars, and it's to give the drivers a chance at a clear bit of track that qualifying is split this way. Down in the pit lane for us, Nina Jade Paul and Bryn Lucas, David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside. And this is going to be an interesting session, isn't it, Joe? Because it's still a little bit damp, and just when you think the road is dry and you can push, you find that final remaining patch that's still a bit greasy. Exactly that, David. You said it in the Mazda race before. The GT3 teams would have been watching intently what those Mazdas were doing. The first few laps of the Mazdas, they were 3 seconds off what they did yesterday in the dry. By the end, they were within a second. So there's still going to be a compromise, definitely for Q1A. But those Q1A drivers are going to dry the track, I think, for everybody else. So that's where that money is going to be on. The drivers are going to really have to find the grip in this opening part of qualifying. Now, those Ferraris yesterday seemed to struggle. Porsche struggled yesterday as well. Again, we never really know how much to read into free practice, do we? As you see the Lion speed cars there, including number 80, the winner of the last Endurance Cup round, the Crown Strike 24 Hours of Spa. Yesterday, free practice, we had 2 90-minute sessions. Neither really reflected the other than Porsche and Ferrari most notably struggling for pace, it seemed. Yeah, Ferrari especially. Last year they were on pole for 2 of the 3 sessions as well last year, so we know the Ferrari can go well here, and they were probably the manufacturer hurting the most. Of course, balance performance always being adjusted to make sure all 10 manufacturers here on the grid are represented fairly, so we may see an adjustment for the Ferrari. Garage 59 McLarens, ComTU Aston Martins, 007 there. That was a quicker car in the second session. Marco Sorensen was able to unlock something. Number 30, the Silver Cup leading WRT BMW next to the Valentino Rossi car, and 32, which again was better in the second session than the first, but again not that racy. And then you had the Winwood cars rounding out the pit lane. 32, just to make the point, Charles Weerts has that car has, thanks to Charles Weerts, a 3-place grid drop. So wherever it is, you add 3 to the grid, and the number 32 BMW just has not looked all that strong in endurance. In sprint, it's been a different story, but it seems to have struggled a bit more in the Endurance Cup as the first drivers get set to go. Yeah, with the 32, I would agree with that statement. They were on pole here last year. They're the fastest combined. Remember, pole position is given to the fastest drivers that on their 3 averages are the fastest. So we have to keep an eye on it. It keeps us busy on the timing screens, doesn't it, as we get the green light, and it's the 555 CSA McLaren to lead us out. So we're looking at the silvers and the bronzes. Silvers and bronzes to go first. I hesitate because the bronze Winwood car has not yet moved, but I think they're biding their time. Now, 10 minutes in this doesn't give you that many laps, and equally it doesn't give you much scope for track limits, does it? You can't afford to be throwing away lap times. Yeah, exactly. And with the outlap being so important for the drivers to see where the grip is at, I can see it says 19.5 minutes on your timing, but that's the split. So the A session will not be able to set a new lap after they've crossed the line with 10 minutes remaining, and the B part cannot go on track until that element. So session then is underway. And there, number 45 Ferrari out on circuit. That's the Rinaldi car that will have Dylan Medler behind the wheel for this first element.
Small bit of housekeeping on the GT World Europe website that everyone can obviously access. You have the notice board, which you can see what's going on, and a little bit of interesting. We had the 991, didn't we, yesterday, under investigation for a pit lane infringement, and essentially Dries Vanthoor swerved at an old engineer as a joke, and it wasn't taken as a joke, it would seem. So €500 suspended fine for him. Everything else seemed okay from free practice 2 in terms of penalties and misdemeanors.
Yeah, I think the steward said, yeah, well, it may have been a joke from you, but it still breached the regulation. So, yes, don't do it again. It's a fine suspended, I think, though, to make sure that Dries got the message. But you can guarantee it would have been done safely with him because he's one of the star drivers. Good to have him back on the grid, isn't it? And he will make that paradigm BMW absolutely fly.
Yeah, for sure. He was quick yesterday. We got that car right to the sharp end of the grid. And so we're seeing drivers come through this final chicane. And I was about to say, clinging with gravel, but the first car with the opportunity to spray it with gravel, Andriolo, does exactly that. And that is going to be an interesting thing for the team's drivers to keep an eye on the grip level through that final chicane.
And also race control when we get to the race, because if it's dry and people are using the curbs more, they're going to be dragging gravel onto the road. And we were seeing yesterday how the line just virtually disappeared at one point. Now then, you're on board with Dylan Medler, aboard number 45 Ferrari. Let's take a lap. Let's have a look at exactly how dry and how much grip there is.
Yeah, so we're just trying to spot the damper patches. The damper patch is always a darker shade on the tarmac. At the moment, it's looking okay. So Medler's able to manipulate the car where he wants, all the way down to second gear here. Hook up the curb on the inside. There you can see a damp patch. But luckily for him, it's when the car is flat and unloaded. So the car effectively just goes across the top without any problems. The big problem is when there's a damp spot underneath a braking zone or at an apex. They're the worst places to have it. The curbs as well will hold the moisture different to the surface, and the drivers are having to constantly scan with their eyeballs ahead of the game to make sure they're not caught out. Diving down the hill here at 8, how late can we brake? Speed will get up to 215 k's before we get on the brakes. See the car nervously twitching. Rotate the car in the middle, full throttle, use the traction control, lay down over 500 horsepower through the Pirelli slicks. Michael Schumacher says it's just to breathe out the throttle, no brake, hook it up on the left, keep the speed high, throw it into the right, and then you have to get the car over to the right quite quickly, so you've got a nice straight brake zone here. Be careful of the extra bit of tarmac on your right, that will hold the moisture more there, gets it to the apex really nicely, and then a quick drag to the left, soft brake, and it was a purple sector 1 for the Ferrari riding on board, so it's a good lap so far, but at the moment it's not the fastest. The first sector needs to be in the 54s, and sure enough that purple colour was taken away from us. Into the final chicane, this is where the gravel gets brought on. Short brake down to 4th gear, full throttle, and we've just missed that apex curve, and that's why we're in the gravel on the right as we go to our lead car. Where's the benchmark got to be? It's got to be a low 54 to be pole in this first session.
So right now, the top time offered up by Ron Andriolo, a 1:56.8, but the queue of cars behind does change that. Dylan Medler's Ferrari does a 56.5, so it goes faster. That's Ralph Bowen in the Porsche, run by the Herbert Motorsport team. Ralph Bowen, a great Porsche enthusiast, and he breaks the beam then and goes through. He chases, amongst others, Alfredo and Hernandez Ortega's Mercedes across the line, but Bowen only 3rd, as you see 991 Dries Vanthoor go through, and Bobby Thompson in the other Paradigm car 992, the former touring car racer. Doesn't do much racing these days, but where an opportunity arises, Bobby takes it, and I think he's enjoying GT3. He'd love to do more. We saw him at Monza, didn't we? And he was saying yesterday he's still learning. He's never raced here before, for example, so every time he's in the car he gains a little bit more. Yeah, super honest with his interview. Good guy is Bobby, and he was just saying he just needs to look internally to find the time. Looking at another BMW now. This one is from Century, the Oman racing entry. Callum Williams aboard it, and Thompson is fast at 55.2, but Williams looks like he might to get a little bit closer than that. It's actually Jaden Kelly, as you can see on the timing screen, popping them in as the times are now coming in thick and fast. Some drivers starting to get some traffic, and remember track limits will be prevalent as well. Car 54, the dynamic Porsche's just lost a lap, for example. Bobby Thompson the fastest to 55.2 at the moment. That's 7/10 up on anybody else, so he's doing a good job. As you see, number 97 Ricardo Pera being given the duties first in the Rutronic Porsche, the Sven Muller Antares Au shared car. Ricky Perra, another Porsche expert, isn't he? And he'll be very, very quick in that car for certain.
Yeah, he's got a good chance here. Porsche is pretty good in Sector 1, but actually it's Sector 3 is its strongest. It's a very short Sector 3, it's only 18 seconds, so it's quite hard to read where the cars and the pace is coming from, but Perra is right on the limit there. The rear of that Porsche wagging nicely. He'll pick up the throttle one more time to finish his lap.
So 54.8 is the time to beat now from Romain Andriolo. Perra breaks the beam, goes fastest on a 54.6 then. So Ricardo Perra, 154.666 is the lap time. That number 87 Mercedes had a trip through the gravel yesterday. It's on its first lap. No time recorded as yet. Marvin Dienst behind the wheel, and we know that he is quick as well. Yeah, this sector is in now. We're about to get its time is strong for the Mercedes. Is it going to pop it purple? It doesn't. It's 2/10 off. Now look at Max Hoffa and the Purex Porsche here, the red one, going to the line. This is going to be very close to Ricky Perra's time of the 54.6, which has now been beaten by Dries Van Tor, but Hoffa beats that once more. So we're now down to a 54.3. What can Dienst do? So it needs to be lower than a 54.3. It's not. It's half a second off that as we have a spin for Gabriel Rindone. Looks like that's down at turn 11. Yeah, Gabriel Rindone off the circuit, so yellow flag briefly out, but he's got going again. You're on board with Peter Dempsey, the bronze-graded driver for, again, Herbert in the Ziggo Sport Tempesta Porsche. Made his Endurance Cup debut kind of at Spa, but never actually got into the car in the race, sadly. So see what he can do this weekend as he comes up now through the chicane. Best lap of the session, Max Hoffa, a 154.3. Sorry, he's had to roll out of this lap. I was saying, man, I was just saying he's only got time for 2 more laps. This is how quick this session goes, and he's only going to squeeze the second lap in by 30 seconds. Through he goes then. A lap time has just been lost for Hernandez Ortega for the dreaded track limits. There going over the curve is Ignacio Montenegro, the former touring car star. And Montenegro, who has been mighty impressive in silver this season. Car victorious in sprint, racking up points in endurance. It has not yet had, though, a endurance pole. That could change today. Dries Van Tor, meanwhile, very much the pro within that Bronze Cup lineup, and he and Darren Lung have raced together in the past, and he's just done, as you can see, not only a personal best Sector 1 but an absolute best Sector 2, and he's just gobbled up most of the curves at the chicane. So the time that he's going for, a 154.3 to get ahead of the silver graded Max Hoffa. Up towards the timing line comes Van Tor. Can we get him into the 53s maybe? The answer is no, but not by much. 154.100. Van Tor takes pole position provisionally in this group. Yeah, really good lap. Hoffa maybe unable to respond now. The tyres dropped off. Second place for him. It does look like the tyres done. Then we go to Dienst in the Winwood Mercedes. What can he do? The time pops up now, and it's a 54.4, so it's an improvement. Third place for him. So that was 1, 2, and 3 we've just seen fly through. Just worth pointing out, the bronze class, you don't need to run your bronze driver in a particular session. So I think it's a good move by Paradine. They maybe saw the conditions and put their best driver in first when the conditions of the track were at its worst. Jaden Kenny about to cross the line there as we go on board with the 88 car. Daniele Diamato at the wheel of the Audi, making the run up towards the chicane. The Audis yesterday, we heard from Ariel Levy saying they were just off the pace. Couldn't work out why. A little bit scrappy over the curb. Diamato fights it into 17. He's still fighting. Comes out the other side, up the curb, and he's lost a little bit of ground in the middle sector. There you've got the Bartone Mercedes, number 6, Anthony Bartone at the wheel of it as the car just twitches its way out of 17. Let's see where this is going to put him then. That's in the Silver Cup as Bartone breaks the beam. 22nd is the net result. So it's bronze ahead of silver, Van Tor ahead of Hoffa. And you can see Ferraris there queuing in the fast lane ready for the B part of the session. These guys have 10 more seconds to set a lap time, so Dries Van Tor is on his final lap, and it looks like he's had traffic, I would have said, having to overtake that 177 Mercedes behind him. So they'll take their notional checkered flag at the end of these 10 minutes and then have to pit. So you've got here Van Tor still attacking. A little bit of a twitch coming out of the chicane. That fires him up the curb. As you say, he's lost ground in that middle sector. Who else is looking quick, if anybody? I think most of them are coming to the end of their runs, aren't they? Anyway, Van Tor to the line. Breaks the beam and a 54.5. So, yeah, he did lose out a little bit. Marvin Dienst is still attacking. But again, the middle sector not as quick as it needs to be for him. It comes into turn 17. So Marvin Dienst it is who is at the wheel for now of 87. The Winward car will break the beam, and as it does so, a 54.671. That puts him up the order to third.
Someone's had a spin by the sound
Yes.
of it.
Agreed.
Just trying to work out where it was. It might actually be from the Nordschleife, which has got its tourist laps on, because it did sound very road car tyre-esque, but certainly pricked my ears up for my attention. Max Ling crosses the line in 12th. Dries Van Tor finished that session on pole, 2 purple sectors, and that is a great start from the 991.
If anybody knows about spinning, it's you, so I will bow to your knowledge, certainly. Ariel Levy's car, that with Sebastian Ogaard at the wheel, coming up to the line. This is the car that won at Monza, remember, in that rather crash-affected race, but the Audi looking for more pace today. 16th, Ogaard was 13th. He is now, so a bit of an improvement there.
Yeah, still quite tough for that Audi, it would seem, wouldn't it, to get the lap time out, and everyone now finishing their final lap. As you can see, the Stella Corvette making its way out and doing a good job of just getting up to speed. I would say the track now is at 100% grip. Maybe the first couple of laps it wasn't quite there, but Dries Van Tor here in the 991 Paradine competition car certainly showed what he could do and what that car can do, more importantly.
Mikael Mack, I think it was, in that Corvette, wasn't it, being obedient. That's Darren Lund getting ready for his turn behind the wheel. So this is still Q1, but the Group A cars, the bronzes and the silvers, will pit, and the pros and the golds will take up attention. It's going to be fascinating, isn't it, to see what the pro drivers can do against a pro time of Van Tor, even though his car is in bronze, because he's not driving any slower just because he's in a Bronze Cup entry.
No, and all the balance of performance the same for all the classes, no weight added for any class or stuff like that. And you can even see Dries's in-lap was quite punchy, and you'd say, why? Well, because next time he sat in the car, he might be in the middle stint or the first stint where he needs to practice coming into the pit lane. So next time he's in the car, that will be his job, as we see a brand new set of Pirelli tyres put on the Man Filter Winward Mercedes. And just to clear up the tyre regulations, each driver gets a set of new tyres in qualifying, and they have to use those tyres in the race. No strategy, nothing you can do different. So nice and simple, 3 sets of Pirellis to get us from here to the end of the weekend.
James Kellett, who was very impressive in free practice yesterday, standing with Darren Lund. There you've got the WRT number 32 BMW heading down the pit lane. That's going to be driven in the first part of qualifying by Calvin van der Linde. You also had the Winward Mercedes. There's Ricardo Feller. He will go first for Lion Speed aboard number 80, a car that's had 2 Sprint Cup wins, but also, of course, from the pit lane, won the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. History making to come from the pit lane to do it. Nobody's done it in Endurance Cup. Nobody's done it in the history of the 24 Hours of Spa. And the Lion Speed Porsche just kept getting stronger and stronger. This weekend, though, it's been a much tougher ride. We did see at Spa, the track kind of evolved and came to the Porsche, didn't we? But here, they've been struggling. It's going to be interesting to see come race day, come qualifying, exactly what these Porsches and Ferraris are really capable of. Yeah, the Porsche definitely came alive as it got hotter, and the heat has not been here this weekend at the Nürburgring, that's for sure. 20 degrees track temp, 15 air temp, as we now go on board with our Spa 24-hour winner. Through turn 1, the Porsche always making a beautiful sound with the flat 6, and Feller having to work this car hard, it seems, with the steering. It's not as sharp as he would want from the front end, so he's having to be positive. Has to turn in super early here at 3, and then gets onto the apex curve rather late. That will let him open up 4, try to have the smallest lift possible to carry the speed down the next straight. Track limits prevalent, but I think he was innocent on exit. And then you want to try and get off the brake as quickly as you can down the hill. There's a huge amount of camber in these corners. They've been profiled so well. You can see how high the gravel trap sits in that camber angle. That shows you the camber of the circuit. But for sure, this car is not getting into the corners as well as he would want. He's about to go through sector 1, which will give us our first illustration of where this lap is at. And it's okay at the moment. But yeah, for me, the front end really struggling to get in here for this Lion Speed Porsche. Big break at the bottom of the hill. Now this steep climb to the Schumacher S. Flick through. And then back on the power. Over the brow into turns 11 and 12, where again there's an opportunity to use a little bit of curb on exit. Get the car turned in for the next apex. Then the road drops downhill. Turn 8, the hairpin that you've come out of. The lowest point of the lap. You're heading up now towards the highest point, which is the looping right-hander of turn 17. Here's the climb up towards the chicane, and Ricardo Feller doing personal bests, but we'll wait and see exactly what this is going to do for the overall order. The time to beat a 154.1 set by Dries Van Tor.
It's going to be his first attempt at it, so maybe the tyres just coming up ever so slightly, but these Pirellis are very peaky. They offer optimum grip, 54.2.
That's not bad. He's only a 10th down, so okay, it is possible that we can get a lot of people between them within that 10th, but that's not a bad first effort.
Yeah, I just think the pace is going to ramp up. I think by the end of the session, pole is going to be in the 53s, and we saw over 25 cars covered by a second yesterday. So yes, a 10th is small, but not in GT World Challenge.
I know you were saying about the fact that people in that earlier, that the track is evolving as qualifying evolves, as you've got Joseph Lote then coming up towards the timing line for Garage 59 in the McLaren. He goes 5th fastest, the 54.126. Tom Fleming, though, now has gone to the top on a 154.069.
So pace is dropping ever so slightly, so he takes that pole position from Dries Vanthoor from the first part. Got WRT running in formation there. Van der Linden, the 32, the second of those BMWs. Purple sector one, a load of dust. Someone's run wide there, and Van der Linden does go into the 53s.
Does indeed then, so Vanthoor's earlier impressive efforts now not looking quite so flash, are they? Let's see what Lucas Auer can do then. He's got a championship to win. Well, he's only 12th, and that became 13th, so it's a fairly modest start that for Lucas Auer, 54.4.
Yeah, and quite a long way off another Mercedes, so just always trying to look, is there a manufacturer that seems to be lacking at the moment? Not really, everyone's well represented. Jamie Day across the line in 19th, then the Mustang, not really seen the car yet this morning. Arjumani here, so on an okay lap, it's going to be a mid 54, 54.7, 18th, so struggling at the moment in that Ford Mustang.
Arjumani goes through, and we'll see what the sister car is capable of. In fact, newcomer to it, aboard number 65, Nicholas Callas, is the quicker of the two Mustang drivers right now, making his World Challenge debut. This is Tom Fleming then, who was the fastest, but Ricardo Feller has now gone to the very top. Ricardo Feller has done a 53.7. Porsche looks like it's woken up today.
Yeah, we rode on board. I said it didn't look alive and sharp. Obviously, on the second lap it did, and Fleming has lost that pole position, which he claimed last time round the line. So what can he do? Down to 4th at the moment. Keep an eye on Drudy on your timing screen as well. He's been very quick on this lap. Fleming goes back up to top, 53.4. That's normal. Now Drudy, what can he do? 2 tenths behind, but takes second.
So McLaren, Aston Martin, Porsche, BMW is the order provisionally. There's Alessio Rovera going by. He really did struggle yesterday. All the Ferraris seem to struggle, but Rovera is 10th at the moment. As you look at Dan Harper, this number 46 BMW never looked overly rapid yesterday, but Bryn Lucas from the pits was telling us there was no sense of urgency. There is in the way that Dan's driving it, rides the curb, and that completely compromises the line going into turn 17. So yeah, the lap may have started well, but Dan Harper's not enjoyed the end of it, and a bad turn 17 compromises the next lap as well, doesn't it?
That looked horrible. It just didn't look like it had any grip at all as we go on board the Lucas Auer. It doesn't look like he's going to improve on his lap. He does ever so slightly, but 17th, that is a big worry. What's the Lamborghini Temerario got? It's been better, hasn't it? Niederhauser has hustled on hard. It should be a mid 54, 54.8, so struggling to get anywhere near the sharp end.
Yeah, over the timing line goes that Lamborghini. I'm hesitating because the lap time taking a while to come up in order. Arjun Maini having another go in the Mustang, goes 19th. Mikkel Mack in the Corvette goes through behind. So Fleming, Drudy, Feller, McLaren, Aston Martin, Porsche, Van der Linde 4th, but he's already in the pit lane as you look there at Lukas Stoltz and Mauro Engel. And they look a bit nonplussed by Lucas Auer's efforts. And in fact, I'm trying to find where the best Mercedes is right now, and it's only 10th. Danny Juncadella aboard the Verstappen racing car. So it doesn't look as though Mercedes are having a terribly good morning, and those expressions kind of backing up the theory that they don't know why.
Yeah, Fleming here getting held up on this lap by a car he knows well in the 296 Ferrari, and that did lose him time. He's got time for one more, but he's not going to improve, in my opinion, with the traffic in front. But does he need to? Drudy's backed out of his lap. Can't see anyone lighting up the timing screens behind. Garage 59, pensive, but I think you've got pole position, boys, in this first part of quali.
Yeah, and then you put the other drivers aboard, and it's that average of the 3 times. So 99 Audi on its way up towards the end of the lap. Dylan Pereira at the wheel. Dylan has also been racing this weekend in the Zolder 24 hours for the Red Ant team, but the engine broke after 3 hours. So if nothing else, he got some sleep.
was he in charge of making sure the oil level was right at the start of the race. And Luke Sauer, this is your last opportunity. The third fastest Mercedes at the moment, down in 17th for him. He's actually behind the teammate of Marvin Dienst as well. Goes 16th for slight improvement. And I think that's why you're seeing the stress on the face of Engel and Stoltz there. All three of those drivers this year have been so close in pace. If that's all Lucas Auer can do, I'm thinking that's all that they can do.
Yeah, it's going to make it very tough for them, but they need to be in the top 4 in the race. As you look at Maurice Schuring there for Boots and VDS, there's been some shuffling of drivers there. Alessandro Gueretti not here. Schuring has had a big moment over the curve coming out of Schumacher S, and around it goes. That would have done that set of tyres a big power of no good. It's back in the right direction, but the camera never lies. So Maurice Schuring having a big spin. The Dutch driver Marvin Kirchhoff saw that and says that was a big spin, or words to that effect.
Yeah. Listen, he's made a mistake by spinning, but honestly, when he's going backwards, he's 100% meant the flick round, the J-turn element of it. So we get super slow-mo of the Get Speed Team Dubai car here. No, sorry, the 17, isn't it? Hustling through. And a difficult qualifying for them as well after a really strong day yesterday. They're absolutely nowhere, and that would be a slow-mo illustration of why that is not the fastest way around this Nürburgring GP track.
Yeah, that car really struggling, wasn't it, towards the end. Maxime Martin at the wheel, so being able to improve a little bit at the flag, but a tough start for the Mercedes teams. So Tom Fleming, the fastest out of Q1, a 1:53.412 from Mattia Drudi, and then Ricardo Fellep. Calvin van der Linde 4th. But remember, that car's got a 3-place grid drop. Arthur Rougier 5th, Joseph Loke from Dries Vanthoor, Nico Menzel for Boots and VDS, another of the shuffles. He is 8th fastest, Christopher Haase and Danny Honcadea rounding out the top 10. Maxime Martin up to 11th in the end. So despite that moment in the replay, he was able to improve from Alessio Rovera and Frederic Champort behind. You can see the overall fastest also being the top of the gold times, that of Tom Fleming, and bronze claimed by Dries Vanthoor. 55 cars we have for this 3-hour race, everybody being able to go and do a lap time, even though 1 or 2 were disallowed for track limits, but everyone at least has a banker lap. So we are almost ready with Q2, and again it's going to be the bronzes and the silvers that go first. So we've had the driver changes, new driver and new tyres fitted to the cars, and very shortly we'll be good to go. Still 1 or 2 of the pros and gold coming into the pit lane, so they will come into the pits. The circuit's got to be clear, and then we can start Q2.
Yeah, just looking at pace from last year. Last year's Q2 pole time was a 54.2, so we're 8/10 quicker than that. Then oddly last year, Q2 was slower. Normally it gets faster and faster.
Yeah.
Conditions were even as well last year. Lucas Auer getting out of the car, and pretty calm character you can see there. Just no real emotion, but he will be massively frustrated, I'm sure. But yeah, we have got a fast racetrack right now. Cool air temp, cool track temp, and that is all leading to positive times. But of course, at the moment, they're combined. You know when it's not your day, when the seat doesn't even hang on the garage boarding. But yeah, we've only seen 1/3 of our qualifying data we need to set our pole position times thus far.
And yesterday we were, during free practice 2, pondering exactly what we were watching, because it's always so hard to know with people on different fuel loads or different tyres and so forth. But what we're seeing this morning certainly doesn't look like anything we saw yesterday, really.
No, completely different day, isn't it? It would seem, as we have the Retronic Porsche right there, Antares Al, the bronze graded driver, ready to go in Q2A. He obviously wants some clear track, willing to sacrifice a little bit of tyre temp as he's sat there stationary.
Ready for an out lap, Antares Al. Wasn't really worth the effort, was it? A bit of sweeping of gravel over at the chicane, then we will be good to go, and there.
I don't even get it.
The pack ready to be released from the pit lane. 991, Dries Vanthoor having been behind the wheel in the first part of qualifying. Darren Lung takes over for this, and new set of boots aboard the car. So race control will make sure the track is clear, but the fast lane is now open, so at least people can, as we've been seeing, go down the pit lane. Green lights on, and Antares out first out in the Porsche, eager to try to buy himself some clear track space.
Exactly that. So new Pirellis are ready to go out the box. They have a releasing agent, so to help the tyre out of the mould machine. It's a slightly slippery compound, but that's gone within a couple of corners, and then the tyre is ready to go. Some teams slightly underbake the tyres in the oven, so the driver has to bring them up the final 10 or 15%. Logic being that if you put them on perfect, sometimes you can go over, and then effectively you kind of harden the compound of the tyre. So it's a couple of strategies there, and I think that's what we saw from Feller in the Lion Speed Porsche, and that's why his first flyer was a good 5-6 tenths off, ultimately his fastest.
So we're looking now at times in the 53s, aren't we, as the road continues to dry and become faster. One or two of the stragglers making their way out on track, but one of the benefits here, they hope, is that they will be in clear air. Lion Speed Porsche also heads down the pit lane. That's the number 89 car of now Bashar Mardini. Alex Fontana drove it in Q1, but Antaro's out now in the sunshine, making the climb out of the Schumacher S over the brow, coming into turn 11, and Antaro's, who splits his time between Porsches in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup and a McLaren for this lot in FIA World Endurance Championship. He is on a prep lap. Tom Fleming, meanwhile, is telling everybody why he's a hero, because he's the fastest. Yeah,
just trying to help Louis Pret, Kirchhoff and McDonald up to speed, I'd say there. It looked like he was saying the car was quite soft the way his arms were moving, but soft and fast for him.
Stefan Ortelli also standing listening. GT legend, sports car legend, Le Mans winner, but of course these days not only friend of, but also driver coach to Louis Pret. And Antaro's out having to fight the car a little bit as he comes through turn 17, but now pulls the pin, ready to go for a first proper flying lap. Over the line he goes, down towards turn 1. He will, of course, have been told a little bit, won't he, by Ricky Perra as to where the grip is and where there might just be a hint of caution required. But Antaro's out as ever. He's on full attack mode.
Yeah, the good teams that Rutronic definitely are have a live onboard where the drivers in the garage can actually watch. They would have watched Perra's lap, and then Perra maybe over the radio on the in-lap would have said a couple of pointers, and he is all over the curb there. Didn't actually like it because the loaded tyre, the right side, got on the serrated part and it seemed to snap round on him. So I think he needs a little bit less curb there, which is quite a rare thing to say in motorsport.
But Antaro's out, not being troubled with traffic. He is having to fight the car. Again, a little bit of a slide at 5, coming now downhill. But what he hasn't had to worry about is getting past anybody. So he wants this to be as good a lap as it can be before the road gets busier. Down to turn 8. And again, that car is just looking like a real handful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard. You can tell he hasn't got much confidence. He's narrowing the corner off. So rather than having a nice defined turning phase where you swoop in, he's just letting the car bleed into the corner. And that narrows off your angle. And ultimately, you're making the corner tighter. So you naturally have to go slower. His first sector is 1.1 seconds off the fastest we saw in Q1. So already this lap time is really going to struggle to be anything below really a high 56 at this point.
James Higgins aboard the number 555 McLaren, one of the drivers making his debut, and Stefan Tribolini has now taken over 177 Mercedes. So they're the other drivers to keep an eye on. James Higgins switching from single-seaters, but he's raced McLarens in McLaren Trophy Europe already this year. There's Antaro's out, then out of the chicane. He will offer the benchmark lap, but I don't think it's going to stand as the best for very long. No, yeah, for sure it's tentative, and I think he's even done track limits out of 17, which is really bad news because he'll lose this lap, but he'll also lose the next, and yeah, 57.7. So Antaro's out will need to up the ante. There is the Darren Lung BMW making its way up towards turn 17. James Higgins goes top for the moment in the number 555 CSA Racing McLaren GT3 debut with the team as well for the British driver. The single-seater driver Darren Lung goes over the line, goes second, just missing out by a 10th. Yeah, and got to see what Darren could do. We know the car is fast in Dries Van Toor's hands, of course, as we go to the dynamic Porsche. Race winners here in the past, the team, so they know they've got a fast car, and at the moment, just on their outlap, just trying to find some space to make sure they're fully prepped. Indeed so, as then we've got, at the moment, on the average, the Darren Lung BMW still the fastest, but bear in mind that not everybody has yet done a lap in this session, in this group. Never mind, of course, the fact you've got another half of the entry still to come. 54 Porsche heading up towards the line. The Dynamique car now with Francesco Simonazzi at the wheel, chasing after Bashar Mardini. And there is number 6 Mercedes, the Bartone Bros car. Now Cesar Gazo at the wheel of it. They're keeping Aurélien Panis for Q3, and he's normally the real hero in that.
Yeah, so track limits are getting prevalent. 54 that we're looking at lost its lap time, so that's why he hasn't got one. And Antares Al did get done for the turn 17 that we saw, so the lap he's still on won't count.
One to watch in this session as you look there at Mathis Lismont, who's done the best in Sector 1, is going to turn out to be Dennis Marshall. I think you've got Dennis Marshall and Gabriele Piana as quick drivers aboard other cars. Also, Guillaume Oliveira for the Optimum McLaren team aboard number 5. Mathis Lismont, though, is going to be a man to watch. See what he can do. Cesar Gazo has gone top in this group. Lismont now with 2 absolute bests comes out of the chicane then. So the BMW from the Silver Cup heading into turn 17. The time he's aiming for in this group at the minute is a 54.3. He should be able to beat that. Let's see up towards the line. It's going to be a 53.947 then. So that's quicker than Vanthor went in the equivalent group in Q1.
Yeah, I was looking at his sectors. He was 2/10 quicker than Vantor's Sector 1 time from Q1. So it was always going to be a 53. His last sector actually went away from him slightly, but it's so fast, that 30 BMW in the silver class from WRT this year. That's
been a massively impressive car, no matter whether it's been sprint or endurance. The second of the Paradigm cars goes through. Christian Hahn replacing Bobby Thompson, or as the entry list has him very formally, Robert Thompson for the weekend. Doesn't strike you as a Robert, does he, Bobby? Now there, Gaspar Simon goes through, the SRO GT Academy winner of last year. 18th he now is. Jaden Ojeda, also the Australian driver, in for Get Speed. He's just gone across the line. Bashar Mardini, and that is Guilherme Oliveira, the Portuguese driver. Very, very rapid indeed in McLaren's, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got some mega space as well to work with here. A couple of tenths down on the 30 BMW, which has still got the purple Sector 1 at the moment. Going to fly through Sector 2. Anything in the 41s is good in Sector 2. Let's see as he goes through. It's very good indeed. Optimum will be watching this intently in the garage. One more corner to go after this one. A bit of a snap of oversteer, but it'll be okay. Just nurse it into the apex here and then jump on the throttle. Be careful, the track limits is a little bit wide, so he wouldn't have been able to get on the throttle as early as he wanted. He's going to cross the line. Is this going to be in the 53s? It's not. 54.2 goes 8th in this session on the combined.
And Dennis Marshall has gone second in Q2 in number 74 Ferrari. Dustin Blattner not racing this weekend. Konstantin Dresler replacing him, and Dustin getting over injuries from that big whack he had in the barriers at Manicourt. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the Bronze Cup Championship at the end of the weekend. Mathis Lismont goes through and is now second on the average, but fastest in this group. A 1:53.815 now, the best time of the group. Not as good as Fleming, though, did in Q1B.
Yeah, 4 tenths off Fleming's time, but he's 3.5 tenths clear of anyone else on track at this moment, and that's what he should be comparing. And mega lap from Lismont there. Super impressed with him as we see the 12 Get Speed car of Ojeda here flying through. This could be a pretty decent lap. Should be a sort of a 54.3 or 4 would be my guess, as he's pushing to the line now and drops away actually to a 54.895.
Tom Callender to come in that car. Jaden Ojeda goes through then. New circuit, new car, new team. Behind him is the blue Kessel Ferrari. Great shot, that, isn't it, of the cars coming over the brow, dropping into turn 1 as you look now at the Sebastian Bode Aston Martin. Sebastian Bode, GT4 champion, coming up into the chicane. He's bought himself some clear real estate as well, hasn't he? With nobody around to get in the way. But the middle sector, a little bit down. Of course, it's a long sector as well, that middle one.
Yeah, exactly. He's got one more lap after this. Car looks okay, just didn't look massively on the edge, and that was close to the edge of track limits out of 17 once more. He's going to break the beam now, 54.9. Yeah, just a bit of an underbaked lap, it would seem, at the end.
So there, coming over the timing line, is Charles Dawson's Mercedes. Guilherme Oliveira goes 7th. We're still yet to get a proper lap, really, out of Antares Au, who is 28th within this part of qualifying, and therefore compromising the average that the car has, and of course, therefore, the grid position. Antares Au goes over the line and stays 28th. It was a better lap, a 1:57.3, but that's been a really tough session for him as Sean Galile looks on, ready to get on board his car, his Ferrari.
I think it's just worth a couple of shout-outs. Oliveira is the second fastest in this group, so he's done really well. The other one that's done mega is Charles Dawson in 9th place in this session, fastest bronze driver in the session, only 9/10 off that Leesmont BMW, so mega lap from the bronze-graded driver of Dawson.
Yeah, he is in bronze, and in this group he's behind the bronze entries of Gabriele Piana and Dennis Marshall, but they're a higher personal grade, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've got to keep an eye out for that 222 car for a bronze pole at the end of Q3 based on Dawson's pace alone.
Yeah, Cian Jewis has gone, Reece Barr to come. Right, the end of Q2A is upon us as Nicolas Bart goes through, and the cars coming out of the pit lane are those for Q2B. So Mathis Leesmont then is the fastest out of Q2A, and that was a 1:53.815. BMW, McLaren, BMW are the cars thus far that have topped individual groups.
Yeah, Ferrari were there with Marshall, weren't they? Third in that session, so they're starting to knock on the door a bit more. I was hoping more with the Ford Mustang, if I'm honest. We haven't seen the best out of that. Nicolas Barr in that session, 9th, but we've seen how strong that car was last time out in a 3-hour race, GT World Challenge Endurance at Monza. They didn't get the result through no fault of their own, but they had big pace there.
Now, Tom Fleming was the fastest out of Q1. We can hear from the Brit. He's with Nina Jade Paul.
Well, Thomas, fastest in Q1, and you did pretty well in free practice too yesterday as well, so encouraging signs pace-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a couple of difficult sprint rounds in Misano and Magny-Cours, so it's been really nice to bounce back here at Nürburgring, where we did a pretty decent job collectively as a team. Yeah, and showing pretty good pace early out in the doors. It was really cold for Q1, so getting the tyres in the right window and not taking everything out of the first lap was super important. So yeah, played it really well. Guys gave me a really good car, and yeah, it's nice to be on top.
And we saw you giving some feedback to your teammate Louis Pret when you hopped out of the car as well. What were you saying?
Well, basically what I've just said regarding the tyres and, you know, managing the out lap to be able to give the best window possible for the second lap especially. There seems to be a very large jump, at least from my experience, and that's all set to change, I think, with the rising track temperature as we go further and further into this session. So yeah, just giving him all the information possible. We've had a good banker down now, so we just need to put the couple laps in and yeah, start in the top 5 and yeah.
Well, you've set the benchmark. Good luck for the rest of the session.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
Yeah, Tom Fleming having done a very good job, and we'll now see what that car is capable of in the hands of Louis Pret, and then Benji Goethe will get on board for the final part of qualifying. So Q2B is underway. We're looking down on that red and white Mercedes of Maxi Goetz right now, somebody that could probably get around here blindfold.
Yeah, I'm sure he's done a few 10,000s of laps around here. But, yeah, just thought the 17 car was going to be more up there. Martin finished at 11th in Q1, so they're in the mix, but after yesterday's performance where they were always inside the top 6 easily, it seems to have gone away from them ever so slightly. Schiller finished up free practice 2 yesterday, fastest overall.
So heading downhill is Maxi Goetz. Remember, we're now looking at something in the 53s, and to be better than Fleming, it's got to really be the low 53s, hasn't it now?
Yeah, it really does. As the fuel load burns out, roughly the cars will be burning 15 to 20 kilos of fuel a session, so they would have started with around 70 kilos because they always need to supply a 5 kilo sample at the end. But yeah, each driver is getting lighter and lighter by 15 to 20 kilos, which around here at Nürburgring is probably a 1/10.5 to 2/10 of a lap.
So this session with just under 6 minutes remaining. You've made the point that you can't afford to be giving away lap times with track limit offences. There's an intriguing Ferrari for the weekend, number 60, the JMW car that normally we see in bronze, but with a real shuffle of drivers thanks to clashing Asia and America events. Thierry Vermeulen and Consta Lapalainen join Tim Heinemann, and up to pro it goes. And Thierry Vermeulen and Consta Lapalainen normally in an Emil Frey Ferrari, but they've had a tough year with the Emil Frey car. Let's see what they can do in this. Yeah,
it'll be a good learning for both the drivers and the team with JMW, getting some good info from them. But like you said, we've got GT World Challenge America and Asia this weekend. First time ever GT World Challenge has had a triple header across the globe. As we look at Thomas Preining with the purple sector 1 here, a little bit of traffic ahead of him will be a worry as he gets into this final half of the lap.
If you're better than a 53.4, then you know you're on the pace. That's what Tom Fleming did. Thomas Preining, we only see in Endurance Cup, and of course part of that winning combination of the CrowdStrike 24 hours of Spa for Patrick Kolb and Jose Garcia's team. So this is Preining's view then. He's got a bit of traffic up the road. He's done an absolute best middle sector, but he's lost his absolute best first sector time now as he comes out of the chicane, rides the curb on exit, fights the car into the apex. He was quite a long way up the curb there. He knows this has got to be a good lap. He's just flirting with track limits as he comes up towards the beam, and the lap's going to be a 53.6. It's good.
It's really good, but I think this 59 car is going to be up there too. Dean McDonald aboard it. How rough did that onboard sound as Preining used the exit curb out of the chicane? You can hear the car bottoming out, slapping along that curb. That would have done a bit of damage. Team will have to repair that ahead of qualifying. What can McDonald do? We're going to get his sector 2 time now, and the McLaren's strong, and so is Dean McDonald. This could be quicker than Preining. Remember, Fleming at the moment, our fastest man of the day, 53.4 as a reference.
Indeed so. McDonald then coming up now through turn 17. Perfect in terms of legality of track limits, breaks the beam on a 53.437. So he is just 25 shy of Tom Fleming, but another McLaren time in the 53. So a good effort that by Dean McDonald. And also Marco Sorensen into the 53s in the number 7 Aston Martin, and Max Hesse could yet be the fastest of all. So McDonald a 53.4, he's nearly 2/10 up on Preining. What can Max Hesse do? He breaks the beam in a 53.251. Fantastic.
Where's that come from? We saw it earlier, didn't we, with Harper driving. It looked awful, the car. They must have done a huge start pressure and adjustment to make that car in the window. Of course, Hesse were a bit of an advantage. He was given passenger laps, wasn't he, last night in BMW's M3 GT3 Touring, the estate car that did the Nordschleife 24-hour. And so he's definitely dialed in. Shearer here about to cross the line in the Mustang. The average at the moment 54.3, and he drags that down ever so slightly.
And Lucas Stoltz does a 54.0 to go 11th in this part of qualifying. But that car really struggling on the average right now, and more worried expressions from the pit lane. 11th car is right. There in the background, the Rover BMWs plural. The number 98 second car, that's in the hands of Tim Tramnitz, goes by. Right, so Thomas Preining now is the fastest driver on the average, but Max Hesse's 53.251 standing as the best time of the day. That graphic is giving you the order when you take the average of Q1 and Q2, but if you take this Q2 session in isolation, it is Hesse, McDonald, and then Jordan Pepper.
Interesting, McDonald boxes early in the session, really. I think they gave him a tyre and a car that only could do one flyer, and that was it. It was a good lap, but it doesn't get an opportunity to respond. And yeah, difficult there. But McLaren looking strong with Garage 59 second and third on the overall at the moment.
Let's see what Maxi Goetz can do. Not a great middle sector, but he's not lost too much time, and if he's really committed here in the third, might be able to fight back. So Maxi Goetz then heading now up towards the timing line. A 53.2 is where he needs to be aiming, and a 53.6 is what he gets. So that puts Maxi Goetz then now 4th in this group and 7th on the average.
Yeah, Chris Lullen about to cross the line here, 53.8 as well. Maxi Goetz has been very quick in sector 2. He's only 200ths off on that lap. He's actually purple there. Lullen at the moment is in the mix, but the Mercedes unable, it seems like, to really turn it on and go for pole. Wow.
Christian Cronjes, meanwhile, for Valkenhorst in the Aston Martin, heading up to the end of the lap. The flag is a minute away, so he's got another opportunity after this. Breaks the beam, and it's going to be a 54.2. That's not great, is it, compared to the 53s we've been looking at? So that's going to put Cronjes sort of just at the bottom of the top 20 in the group.
Yeah, just looking down the timing screens, not many people improving now, are they? Tyre has dropped away. I think that it was going back to what Fleming said, wasn't it? The track temp's going to go up. It's going to change what the teams are doing, and it would seem that way, that it's getting peakier as we go on board with the 48. Lucas Stoltz, 53.8, the third fastest Mercedes in this time, behind Lullen and also Maxi Goetz. Riding on board all looks okay. Looks slightly under. I think we might already have called it for an in-lap. And the man to the right of the shot, Maro Engel, last to go. Doesn't look like they're enthused with their race weekend thus far, considering they are championship leaders. Checker flag is out.
Doesn't look like a man that's eager to get on board, does he, knowing he can save the day. So I fear there are no white horses for Mauro Engel to ride in on here. The best Mercedes thus far is theirs. Is 17, isn't it? The Martin and Goetz entry, which is 7th, ahead of number 3, the Verstappen car, and then there's 3rd, 11th on the average. So it's going to be a long 3 hours. They're going to have to be hopeful of good pit work to vault up the order. Chris Ludlam lost time in sector 1, but an absolute best sector 2, and the lap time that he posts as he crosses the line is a 53.863 for the number 3 Mercedes then, and that puts him 9th in the group and 8th on the average.
Hat trick of colours for the sectors, wasn't it? Yellow, purple, green. That would be an annoying one for Ludlam. I think when he puts his ideal lap, all 3 sectors from all the laps across, he would be well up there, and maybe the Mercedes not as drivable as he would like there, and that's why he's unable to string a lap together all on the same lap.
Possibly so. A bit of a wobble there, big wobble in fact, from the Ford Mustang. Fabio Scherer getting it wrong coming out of the chicane, and I suspect we'll see quite a bit of that in the race, especially as tyres and brakes start to go off.
Yeah, definitely. You see the exit curve, the newer part. We destroyed it last year, the amount of cars running wide. The track here at the Nürburgring had to repair it, and it looks a lot sturdier, but you can see why so much damage was done to that exit curve.
Number 10 Porsche to the end of the session. That's Robin Knudsen, who had a little bit of a moment coming off the chicane as well. Chases the sister car to the line, and that is a 54.6 for Robin Knudsen as he took the flag. So 26th in this part of qualifying for the Boutsen VDS car. So right now it is the Lion Speed Porsche ahead on the average time, number 80, by 4 thousandths from the Fleming Pret driven McLaren. So this is where we stand on the combined times. Ricardo Feller and Thomas Priming 4 thousandths quicker than Fleming and Pret. Joseph Loke and Dean McDonald 3rd, from Matthew Drudy, Marco Sorensen, Kelvin van der Linde and Jordan Pepper, the all South African driven BMW 5th, +3, remember, got that grid drop, and then 6th, Dan Harper and Max Hesser. Fleming and Pret best of the golds. In bronze, Lorenzo Petresi and Dennis Marshall have pole position, and in silver, no real surprise, is it? Ignacio Montenegro and Matti Sliesmo, they're ahead currently, but Amaury Cordeel has yet to go. Konstantin Dresler yet to go in the bronze topping car as well. And Benji Goethe will take over the one that is quickest within gold. You can see the rest of the order as we have a look all the way through. At Lion Speed GP, after a really subdued yesterday, have found something overnight.
Yeah, they really have, haven't they? And so many changes the cars and teams can do. So you can always make your day better.
So the pit lane becomes busy once again as the bronze and silver cup cars get ready to go for the 3rd part of qualifying. And of course, those teams that aren't required for the first 10 minutes will be frantically looking at data, and drivers talking to one another about what they've discovered and what they can tell their co-drivers and what the team might be able to quickly unlock, but it's going to be tough. Q3 ready to go then here at the Nürburgring. The fast lane is open for the bronzes and the silvers.
Looking down the order, who do you think's got the strongest driver 3? On the overall, I'm looking at, you got Bastian Buus against Benji Goethe, Kirchhofer, Nicky Thiem, Charles Wirtz, Rossi, Schiller, Gounon. It's a hard one to call, isn't it? Gounon has been in great form in GT World Challenge. Kirchhofer last year was the man to beat. Nicky Thiem has always got something. They're kind of the 3 that really stick out to me. Fabian Schiller fastest yesterday in free practice 2. So hard one to call. I'll make it your decision.
Well, I'm going to answer your question with a question. Are you asking who's going to be quickest in the group or who's going to end up on pole position outright? Because you can, yes, envisage, as you see the track being swept, Jules Gounon being fastest in Q3, but that car is 0.3 of a second down on the average pole position time. So is he going to be 0.3 of a second quicker than everybody else in order to get overall pole? That's much tougher. Yeah,
it needs to be even more to bring the average down as well. That's the problem, because we're 60, so he needs to be 0.6 quicker to bring the average down. That's the problem there. I don't see that happening, but yeah, it's a fair question. I think Kirchhoff is the one that with a chance to take it to line speed.
This is the Boots and VDS Porsche. Robin Knudsen last behind the wheel of it and coming through the S, fighting the car and getting onto the gravel, which just makes it even more leery, doesn't it?
He's trying to sweep it for the tractor, wasn't he? Who's precursoring what we were just seeing there, but phenomenal camel work to keep that in frame, and it just shows the energy in the car, but also what the driver's having to react to live to stop that becoming a plane crash through that final chicane.
Well, the green light is on at the end of the pit lane, so Q3 now underway. Let's see what lap times we can squeeze out in the remainder of this session. Let's have some more gravel moments, shall we, while we're waiting. There you can see a very, very, very crossed up Rafael Duran in the Rinaldi Ferrari, and he ends up straight through, or straight across, or straight over the gravel, showering it everywhere.
Oh, Duran, what a moment he had there. And we're going to see a lot of that in the race. If I was a driver and I know I've messed up the entry, I think it's better to cut the inside like the Ferrari did versus hang on to it like the Porsche did and run wide on exit. So some potential joker laps coming in the 3-hour race later this afternoon.
Now let's get to the pit lane. Thomas Preining from Lion Speed, currently 4 thousandths ahead on the average, and he can talk about that with Nina J. Paul.
Fastest by 4 thousandths just then. I mean, you've seemed to have found significant pace from yesterday in free practice.
Yes, we did. For me, it was the first set of new tires also this weekend, so I think I went like 3 seconds faster than yesterday. It's a lot of learnings and a lot to adapt to, but generally the car was very good. We made the right steps overnight, I think, so big thanks to the team. And yeah, I hope we will have a very good Q3 and start somewhere close to the front.
Well, promising signs. Good luck for Q3.
Thank you.
So Thomas Preining heads to the monitors and to have a look at the data. Track's getting busy then as the cars head out onto the circuit. And they're up towards the end of the lap, number 555, Jean-Baptiste Simonard in the CSA Racing McLaren. So he's going to be the first one onto a flying lap. But again, they've only got 10 minutes. And as we have seen in the previous 2 parts of qualifying, not that many people eager to go out within a long, long line at the start of the session.
Yeah, just looking at the improvement, it was Max Hesse, wasn't it, fastest in that previous session, yes, on a 53.251. He moved the goalpost on from Fleming's Q1 time of a 53.4, so a 2/10 move forward. Could we see a 52 if we continued the trend? That's where you'd say the time is going to be at, but sun is at, track temp is coming up. That will make the track slower now for these drivers.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear from Max Hesse, wouldn't it, about that lap and also about the difference he seemed to find in the car from Dan Harper in Q1. So maybe Bryn could be heading in the direction of WRT and find out for us. So there we've got Jean-Baptiste Simonard into the turn 8 hairpin. Coming up towards the end of sector 2. The purples, effectively, because he's the only person through them, it's towards the end of the 10 minutes when we know what that car is really going to be able to do in terms of a lap time and where it is in the classification. So Jean-Baptiste Simonard up now to 11 and 12. So far, clear road, but that's going to change.
Yeah, and that's the problem when you go out early. You're unable to affect the cars in front of you, so they'll be on a lap previous as well, so they're not on it as much this lap at the moment. Yeah, it just seems like the tyres coming up a bit slowed for the 555. This is going to be in the 55s at the moment as we get our sector 2 time. It's a purple 42. It's about 7/10 off the best we've seen thus far. He's had to back out of it because of the traffic you said about, David.
Yeah, exactly right. So Jean-Baptiste Simonard does back out, but interesting he's done that without having done a banker lap. So he will go again, but without anything on the board. Here, Robert Renauer, one of the 2 brothers that runs the Herbert Motorsport team, chasing a Porsche as well, up into the chicane at the end of the lap. Still a little bit gravelly offline. The other Porsche, the Rotronic car, dives out of the way. That was Sven Muller, massively experienced driver, knows exactly what's happening. You can see in the background the activity going on the Nordschleife, but up towards the beam goes Robert Renauer. Jean-Baptiste Simonard did do a notional lap, a 2:03, but Renauer was a 1:55, so that's a little bit more like it and getting closer to a proper Bronze Cup pace as you see Ben Dur there rattling it over the curb for Team RJN into and out of the chicane.
Yeah, big sense here from Ben Dur. Has been getting quicker and quicker in this McLaren all season long. RJN presenting a good car. It's 53.6. That's a very good time from the McLaren first in this session at the moment.
So Ben-Dor then goes through a 53.653, 1.2 seconds quicker than Colin Karasani, who has now gone second within this group. Another car looking like a real handful there. Look, coming out of the chicane. So you can see the commitment that's being put in. Eddie Cheever having to fight the Ziggo Sport Tempesta Porsche now out of turn 17. Let's see where this puts him. A 53.6 is the aim, and a 54.5 is what he gets. Puts him second so far in Q3, but certainly we know there's more to come from that. But every onboard shot just illustrates the commitment being put in now. Kobe Powell's absolute best sector 1, absolute best sector 2, and the Contiu car that runs in silver has now lost its absolute best within the first sector, but is still looking very rapid indeed as he comes out of turn 17. So Kobe Powell's, who gets better all the time, the one-time rallycrosser, goes quickest, a 153.719.
Yeah, good luck there, Reece Barr. Good luck. That's been a strong run so far for the 2Cs car in the bronze class. The sector 1 was stolen away from Ben-Dor, who's fastest at the moment in this session and still getting quicker.
Yeah, fastest on the average was Kobe Powell, second in the group, but he's now lost that to Renat Salikov, who has put 87 to the top on the average. Let's just see now what Konstantin Dresler can do for Kessel. Goes over the timing line, and that puts that car second on the average and 13th so far in Q3.
Yeah, just watching other times fly in now. That 97 Porsche lost a lap to track limits. Here's Ben-Dor still pushing. He's going to get affected by traffic into the last corner. Looks like he'll just be okay. He'll be getting a bit of an aero wash. He'll be losing some front end grip. Hopefully he doesn't run wide. He doesn't. Might be slight compromise. Now he gets a toe to the line. Where's this going to put us? It's going to be a 53.07. Fastest lap of the day so far. We're nearly in the 52s. Mega lap from Ben-Dor.
Absolutely right. 6/10 quicker than anybody else within this. So the next car over the line, James Kellett there for Paradigm in 991. That's his first lap, puts him fourth within Q3, and third in the average as Aurelian Panis now charges his way up towards the chicane. Lost a little bit of time though in that middle sector. You can see the treble 2 that time being pieced together from Reece Barr. Way up the curb is Aurelian Panis, but that's not unusual now in qualifying, and that compromises the line and a bit of a twitch midway through turn 17. Panis to the line. We're aiming for a 53.07, and it's a 54.2 that he gets.
Yeah, I think drivers have to stop being as greedy on the exit because they're getting dirt on the left side tyres, and as they turn into that last right, you can see the cars squirming as they clean their tyres back up. But I think they're losing more than they're gaining. The Optimum car there, I think Mikey Porter's just done track limits. Turn 17, he'll lose this lap and the next if I'm right.
Okay, Reece Barr then goes through, goes second. Mikey Porter goes across the line as well. So in the Q3, Ben-Dor by 0.6 of a second from Kobe Powell's. Now this is Konstantin Dresler subbing for Dustin Blattner at Kessel, another shiny bronze. He comes up towards the timing line now, and a 53 is where he needs to be, and a 55.3 is where he ends up. So that is 23rd in Q3, but it does keep the car 7th on the average for now.
Yeah, the bronze class battle is getting spicy, isn't it? At the moment, it's the 222 car leading from the 991, and then this car just needs a bit more. Tom Callender is working hard behind the wheel to get this car somewhere near the sharp end, but at the moment, they're just 6th in class. Crosses the line, 19th overall on the combined. As we go to the Greystone GT, McLaren 720. Haven't seen too much of this car today. Jaden Kelly was out first. He was nice and quick. Then it was Ratican, and now it's Tommy Pintos. At the moment, loads of space to go, but next lap will be his last. These sessions just go so quickly, and he's lost a load of time in the middle sector. Don't expect this one to be an improvement. He's got one more go at it.
There's another car on the edge, isn't it, as it comes through the chicane then. So Pintos now through 17. The fast lane open for Q3B. The final part of the entry, the final part of qualifying, then ready to get underway, as you have here the Aston Martin of Sergio Sette Camara that was in the tyre barrier at that part of the circuit yesterday. Camara went off, but was able to rejoin the session with a little bit of repair work done. So the car circulating here and improving in sector 1.
Yeah, it was a strange off yesterday, wasn't it? We caught it. It was a big snap from Camara, and it just went hard in the wall. Actually got back out at the end of the session, the Commentary Racing team repairing the car, but that will still be in the back of the mind for Camara, because he really didn't get many laps after that. So he'll still be thinking what went wrong as he's going to get across to the line. It was a good sector 1, sector 2 dropped away slightly. It's going to be right on the cusp whether he can improve his lap time.
goes by, and time lost in sectors 2 and 3. So end of the session now for the bronzes and the silvers. Number 25, the Santalok Audi, which again runs in silver. Ezekiel Perez, Companc, Etienne Shelley have gone. Laurence Lecouture behind the wheel. He had a spin at the start of yesterday coming out of the chicane, Lecouture, but the former Alpine champion heading now into turn 17. It doesn't say improvement though this lap, does it? Looking at the sectors from 1 and 2. Chases the Paradigm BMW of Josh Rowledge over the line and completes their part of qualifying, the end of Q3A. So it is currently Ben Door, the fastest in Q3, a 1:53.070, 0.649 quicker than anybody else. That's mightily impressive.
Insanely
Race
fast.
control to all teams. Car 222 and car 30 under Parc Fermé conditions, no skates. All other teams can put their cars from Q3A back to the garage using skates.
That's the voice of the race director Niels Vitic to tell the teams of Parc Fermé conditions being imposed on certain cars, and they are the top 2 from the combined average time from silver and bronze. So the scrutineers, the technical team, want to make sure that all is well, so they're not allowed to touch them. All the other teams can do what they want with their cars. They're not required from Parc Fermé.
Just got to do a few shout-outs, really. One is to the 222, that's on bronze pole.
Yep.
I said Dawson did a mega lap, and I thought that'd be enough to get that car into pole position. It was. But they're ahead of every single silver cars, bar one. Same for the 991 of Darren Lung. They're 4th. They've only got 2 silver cars in front. The bronze drivers have been phenomenally good this weekend. And so, yeah, Darren Lung, Charles Dawson, Renat Sadikov has done a really strong job, as so has Dressler in the Kessel car, standing in for the injured Dustin Blackner.
Reece Barr doing a good job in that third part of qualifying as well. Reece gets better and better in that car. I think he struggled a bit in McLaren's, didn't he, last year? But in the Mercedes, he's found a car that really does suit him. As then the bronze and silver entry comes down the pit lane. Sven Muller in the Rutronic Porsche 11th, taking that over from Antares Au. But as they come in, you can see others going out, ready to get Q3B underway. Valentino Rossi will be aboard 46 BMW. And we understand that there's been absolutely no concern whatsoever all session about that car, nor yesterday. Total faith. We'll see what Valentino Rossi can do, but really mega effort by Max Hesse. So far we've had one session topped by McLaren, and sorry, 2 if you take Ben Door from Q3A, and then the other 3 by a BMW. So only 2 brands so far being able to take absolute pace.
Yeah, and it's BMW on overall pole position here last year. McLaren have never had an overall pole position here, so that would be a good scalp for them to have. Mercedes have had a couple, BMW a couple in their time, Porsche, Lamborghini have been on pole the most here at the Nürburgring for GT World Challenge 3 times in their past. I would make a statement that that's not going to happen for a 4th time today.
I think I would go along with that. So Ben Door, quickest man of the day, 1:53.070. There is Valentino Rossi then on track, and already we're down to 6.5 minutes. Number 80 Porsche then now will have Bastien Bus at the wheel. It's interesting how over time as well the teams have shuffled the drivers. It's not always the same driver for Q1 or Q2 or Q3, and sometimes you seem to put your absolute megastar in for Q3 when it's lighter, but sometimes for Q1 where the car's heavier and maybe the track surface isn't ideal because, I don't know, it might have been raining overnight, for example.
Yeah, interestingly, a lot later out, everyone in this session, so they obviously feel the track's there, and Boost with a real slow outlap. We can see him working the brakes. He's going to open up this last corner to slingshot himself out, so trying to maximise his exit speed just on the white line. He would have wanted maybe a bit more margin to start his first flyer, but now we get going. Into turn 1, we're going at 250 kilometres an hour, all the way in 5th gear in the Porsche. Don't need 6th, interestingly, and then hard on the brakes, all the way down to 1st gear, slamming the brake on with all of your might. Rotate the car full throttle straight away. Use that rear engine position of the Porsche, and now patience, get the car in, and then jump back on the throttle as hard as you can. Your eyes are looking left, but the car is staying right, and now you swoop in and you get it over this curb. It hooks you round like a set of rails. In an awkward turn 4, can't use as much curb as you could back in my day. A big curb, defending the inside. Track limits have been good so far on this lap. We now have 10 corners without any track limits, so suddenly you can breathe a fresh of big air into your lungs to relax. again, just bring the car to the inside. Vision up early. The further you look ahead, the more time you've got to think and react. Sounds obvious, but these cars are so quick. We'll be getting 230 kilometers an hour here down the hill, and the downhill braking zone difficult because of all the gravity pushing the car away from the inside, and then your jump on the power. This is where the car's going to feel at its best. He'll have 20 kilos of fuel, super light, brand new tyres sticking him to the ground. The slightest of lifts here through the Schumacher S's up to the gravel trap, flick to the right. You always feel like you're in a rally car there doing a Scandinavian flick, and then you've got the noise of the flat six behind you, bringing the car in once more on the brakes. You can see Bastian Boost there, nice and calm, good bend in his elbow. There's the vision. Look how much his head is rotating on that skinny little neck of his. He's just trying to see ahead of the game. A little adjustment there on the brake bias. Looks like he was going forwards on the brake bias for the final stop of the lap. He doesn't want the rear wheels to lock as he hits the brakes. Let's see how much energy is in his body as he smashes these curbs on the left, on the right. One more lap to go. This has been a steady lap so far from Boost, but luckily for him, he's got time for 2 more at the end of this.
Another quick Porsche behind on the road is Alessio Picariello's Boots and VDS car, flirting with track limits there was Boost coming out of turn 17, but he breaks the beam and does a 53.949. So that is 6th in Q3, but he will get faster, no doubt. AF Corsa Ferrari behind, AF Corsa Ferrari here as well. Nicholas Nielsen in 51, riding the curbs, and he's having to. He's got to get this car by the scruff of the neck because the Ferraris, again, just struggling for pace, it seems.
Yeah, it's got nothing about it, has it? Not weak in any sector of the lap particularly, but just unable to deliver a lap time. What can Nicky Team deliver? This was an outside shot of pole position. The 007 has been strong at times this year, won the first endurance round of the year at Paul Ricard, remember? So we know the car is there. Nicky Team has been in pretty good form alongside Thompson and Drudy as well. So this car is up there, smashes the curb, and the car looks compliant. For me, the BMW and the Aston are the best at riding the curbs around here.
Nicky Team, no stranger to using the curb as well, and always a spectacular driver. Out of 17, chases Jules Gounon over the line. Fabian Schiller goes briefly to the top, then Nicky Team goes to the top on the average, and that is to the delight of Contieu. Still Ben Dur, though, has the fastest time in Q3. You're on board with Maro Engel, who really does need to do something heroic in this car right now as he comes through the Ad Van Bogen up towards the chicane. So personal bests. 51st the car is at the minute, and he throws it through the chicane. Almost got away from him there, but Maro just gets it back under control, stamps on the brake, finds the apex for 17, rides the curb on exit up towards the beam. Remember, we're looking for something in the 53s, and he goes through on a 53.7. That puts the car 8th in Q3, 7th on average.
Half a second behind Schiller, though, in the Get Speed Merc. And that is something we have never seen from this Winwood Manfilter team, where they're not at least the lead Mercedes or within touching distance of Get Speed or 2Cs Verstappen.com, for example, but they're just not turning on for them this morning.
Alex Arca, always spectacular in his Gold Cup Tresor Attempto Audi. Alex coming down up towards the line. Let's see what he can do again. Remember, a low 53, maybe a high 52 is what we're aiming for. It's a 53.9. So 10th on the average and 10th, and then up to 9th within Q3 is the answer. A twitch there from number 59 McLaren as it comes to the end of the lap. So Marvin Kirchhofer working the car hard, and as he breaks the beam, a 54.4 for number 59 McLaren then. That's 17th in Q3, 4th on the average. What about Jules Gounon? Personal best 1, personal best 2. So the Red Bull backed Mercedes comes then up towards the line. Jules Gounon looking again for a low 53. A 53.6 is the answer. That is 4th in Q3 and 6th on the average.
Nicky Team's had an off lap, so maybe just to get the tyres back down slightly. He's backed up to the WRT. BMW's behind, doesn't he? I think he's going to go for one more push on this final lap. He may box if he decides he can't improve. Can Engel improve? It's a good sector 1. Yeah. We're going to see sector 2 now. Sector 3 is not the Mercedes sector, it seems. This is going to be hard to improve already from that sector 2. They can't use that yellow curb on the inside as well as the BMW, and it's really hurting them through the final corner. Really struggling. This car does not look compliant. I couldn't even see the apex curb in shot because the front end just washed out on him. I feel for the Winwood guys there. They have not got an easy race car right now. I'd say their faces agree.
Absolutely. Totally devoid of emotion and just not wanting to be anywhere near that camera focusing on the data. If we stare long enough at the data, the camera will go away, I think is the general feeling. Meanwhile, they're a bit happier at Comtu. Matthew Drudy in the black cap, Marco Sorensen nearest to us. They are fastest on the average, third in Q3, so that car hasn't actually topped a session, but it will top overall.
Yeah, and I thought the Lion Speed car was going to be hard to call, but I did fancy that number 7 Aston Martin with Nicky Team, and sure enough he's done enough to get it at the moment for provisional pole overall, and he's backed out of it. You can see him in the backer shot.
Yeah.
So he obviously went for it the first part of the lap and decided the tyre's gone. What's Valentino Rossi got? A big bit of oversteer is what he's got right there, and it was a mega lap from Max Hesser, wasn't it, to get fastest in Q2. Charles Vert's in front of him, looks like he's unable to improve. I think maybe both of these cars will actually box at the end of this lap. And
the fastest car in Q3B is a Mercedes after all that. Fabian Schiller, the best out of Q3B, but 0.184 of a second behind Ben Dur. Actually, a 53.254 is only 3 thousandths down on Max Hesser, so we were getting excited about that time. Fabian Schiller, I reckon, putting it in context, has done a good job. So Marco Sorensen, Matthew Drudy and Nicky Team don't actually top a single part of qualifying, but on the average they are ahead. And Lucas Auer and Lukas Stoltz, who could, if they finish in the top 4 in the race, win the championship, end up 8th on the grid. Actually, it could have been a whole lot worse than that.
Yeah, and a great illustration of motorsport. One very happy team and one very sad. Maybe sad's not the right word, pensive, because the championship is still on, of course, but they would have liked to do it from further up the grid.
Yeah, I suppose the bigger problem they've got is not knowing why the car is slow, and until they can work out that and know whether there's a solution, slightly in no man's land. Well, you've seen a happy team in Comtu. There'll be a happy team in the car. Nicky Team on his way back to the pit lane, then he can join in the celebrations. On the average, it is Aston Martin, Mercedes, Porsche, McLaren, BMW, Mercedes, but change that because the BMW is number 32, which gets a 3-place grid drop. So it will put the Jules Gounon, Danny Hunkadea, Chris Lallam, Mercedes up to 5th. So this Aston Martin's first pole since Spa in 2018 is how we look. It is Drudy, Sorensen and Tim at the top, from Maxime Martin, Maxi Goetz and Fabian Schiller second. Maxime Martin, one of 3 people this weekend celebrating his 60th Endurance Cup event. Ricardo Feller, Thomas Preining and Bastien Bus third. Joseph Lote, Dean McDonald, Marvin Kirchhoff are 4th. 5th in the times, plus the grid drop of 3. Calvin van der Linde, Jordan Pepper, Charles Weerts. So that helps Honkadea, Lallam and Gounon. It helps Fleming, Pret and Goethe. And it's going to help our Stoltz and Engel as well. It is the Fleming, Pret, Goethe, McLaren that tops gold. Silver, for the first time this year, Montenegro, Lismore and Cordil ahead in the times, and it is going to be within the Bronze Cup, a first pole position of the season in endurance for Kian Jewis, Charles Dawson and Reece Barr. Good effort there as well.
Yeah, really, really good. And 5 different manufacturers represented in the top 5, 7 in the top 10. So we've got a good race on the cards this afternoon, which will start local time, 3 p.m.
A 3-hour race, and a conventional 3-hour race. Only the 2 regulation pit stops, not 3 like we had at Monza. Fuel burn here, not quite as severe. So, a dry morning and a drama-free morning it has been for the teams. So, the times topped by Aston Martin. Remember, the car that did win the opening round at Paul Ricard. We've had different winners outright in each of the 3 Endurance Cup rounds thus far this season. And the Aston Martin starting from pole position for the first time. Previous poles to our Engel Stoltz at Paul Ricard, to the Mustang of Arjun Maini, Fabio Scherer, Tom Adreux at Monza, and to the Alessio Rovere, Nicholas Nielsen, Tommaso Mosca, Ferrari at the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. So the first Aston Martin pole. Field now making its way back to the pit lane, and we can head for our Rover Pole Position Award, and it's going to go to Nicky Team.
Well, Nicky, you got out of the car and you said, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do here, because, I mean, it was fine margins all the way through that qualifier. It was really nip and tuck.
Yeah, it's we're not used to this standing here. It's actually pretty nice. Obviously, I'm missing my 2 colleagues. It's a team effort. As you say, it was unbelievably close. I think when I stepped in the car, it was only half a tenth between top 5, so I knew I had to nail it. But yeah, every driver's dream to go on low fuel, new tires, and with this bad boy right here.
What was the key to the success? Obviously, consistency among the three of you is key, but you went into this needing 3 100ths or something like that over your rivals, over the 80.
Yeah, I haven't seen the times yet, but I obviously it's the best of the best here, so I couldn't imagine that it must be close. But again, we are three of us, and with an unbelievably great team behind us who'd come to you. So been really consistent, all those three, and working good together. So it's always a pleasure.
Prime position, well done. It's time now for you to receive the Rover Pole Position Award. Just stay there, Nikki, to receive the award. It's going to be presented by Rover Senior Vice President Marketing and Sales. This is Thomas Papez.
I don't know where my colleagues are. They will come. Thank you.
So Nicky Team, along with Matthew Drudy, Marco Sorensen, takes pole position on that average. The fastest time goes the way of Ben Dorr. It kind of seems a little bit unfair that he doesn't get an award for doing the outright best time, but Ben Dorr was the quickest for Team RJN, Bob Neville's McLaren squad, and that car on the average will start 19th, in fact, second in silver. Qualifying at the Nürburgring under blustery conditions, but sunny skies began with, for 3 parts of qualifying, the silvers and bronzes going out first, and it wasn't long before Gabriel Rindone had the first drama of the session, a spin at turn number 11, putting him the wrong way, as Dries Van Thor was fastest in Q1A, the pro driver in a bronze cup entry. Maxime Martin had a big moment midway through the session, but was able to regroup, whilst there was a mighty, mighty spin for the Maurice Schöring Porsche that rotated coming out of the chicane. Matthew Drudy then was looking good in Q1. Ricardo Feller likewise in the number 80 Lion Speed Porsche that accelerated its way on track, and the 24 Hours of Spa winning car working its way into contention. Tom Fleming, though, the McLaren, had been fastest in Q1B, and as the bronzes and silvers headed out on track for the second part of qualifying, that was a session stopped by this BMW. Matty Sliesmont for Team WRT, and silver pole would go their way. Dean McDonald quick also for Garage 59. Max Hesse, though, faster than anybody in Q2B, and that was in a sense a surprise, as the car hadn't looked all that flash yesterday, nor in the first qualifying session. And so for Q3, Ben Dorr absolutely electrifying in this McLaren for Team RJN, not only topping Q3A but doing the best time of anybody across the 6 parts of qualifying. He would take second in silver. This was the car that topped silver. Ignacio Montenegro, Mathieu Sliesmont and Amaury Cordial. The bronze pole to the 222 Mercedes of Rhys Barr, Charles Dawson and Kian Jewis. But Fabian Schiller would be fastest in Q3B. But on average, it was the 007 Aston Martin and Marco Sorensen, Matthew Drudy and Nicky Team that takes pole position here at the Nürburgring.